hypothetically, not that it actually happens, but just if it did, if it didn't, if time stood still, a very important man was missing his very important whatever human that was built in a special relationship but is being completely abused at every reboot and every day she wakes up, in the most unusual fashion based on who he is, due to some world of hurt fantasy of someone else, and due to some that's the way the cookie crumbles in other parts of knowing things in however they miraculously are inspired. If there was a day that the world stood still and the man got to love his wife or get to her and just have a private moment amongst whatever he does, and like we'll just call it Special Task Force Mark at the moment, and then the world turns again, things go into play or motion, they appear as the cookies crumbling in this disgusting fashion for which I am now witness to. I really feel like this morning, like right here, they did a thing on Huntington's disease. I'm like, it feels like right behind my eye, like a mini stroke. It does not feel right. It feels like someone's at the weather department or the weather station is hitting pressurized buttons and causing intracranial pressure changes, to either spark or cause mini clots and mini strokes, or mini malfunctions within my memory or my eyesight. That's at large scale animatronics and calculations. But anyhow, so getting back to the malfunction of this degradate that I am in its malformation, disformation, and I'm trying to do a synchronized swim with the coach I had and the person I'm madly in love with when the world actually just stands still. There's a movie that came on. It's a hypothetical, I suppose. It's about a really rich CEO billionaire and his wife, WIFE, and then some guy. Did this happen already? I don't know. Who takes credit for these things? Who cares? It's important, small circles, to explain larger paradox and parallel without explaining things. But the messenger system's correct. It's the couple in their natural messenger looking genetic families, and then it's the other guy. The messengers all look within a range, somewhat even extended familial. I don't know. These words tend to get misused a lot, but they're clearly in some form of me and you and us in a USA look. So it fits for the category of I'm in the wrong place. I'm with the wrong people in the USA. And there's a lot of management misbehaving. I don't know why the really important one is having trouble. Here we are.
But I need you to.
But I see signs.
Less.
How about you do you, and I'll do me?
And how about a one-way ticket back to Chicago?
Less.
It's like me in the USA right now. I really feel like this is New York and the USA scene. A lot less of what you've all been up to would be really nice.
Got it. A lot less.
You like that? Lily Collins earned an Emmy nomination for the hit series Emily in Paris. The actress and producer now stars in a thriller. It's called Windfall. Collins plays the wife of tech billionaire Jesse Plemons, and they walk into a robbery at their vacation home. The robbery.
A robbery, right. A planetary that was really easily explained. Of we were born for one another and you took my wife. That was what his verse would have been. My wife now looks to be like the wife of something else in your area, but she refuses to call herself that. It's a disgusting display of humanism. And I want her back. Right, got it. Great. So why is this such a difficult performance? I mean, we were all in agreement. It's the humanism that's the problem.
Robber is played by Jason Segel. He tries to get to know the couple.
Him I've read plenty about. But you, I mean, you're a mystery, so why don't you start?
My favorite color is black.
I can tell. What's this tattoo you're getting removed on your foot?
How about you stop looking at my wife's feet? Yeah?
It was nothing.
The tattoo was nothing? That was one of the ugliest tattoos I've ever seen in my life.
Yeah, I know you've made that pretty clear.
Lily Collins joins us first on CBS Mornings. Good morning to you, Lily Collins.
Morning.
Let's talk about this movie because we've been talking all morning about the twists and turns, and it certainly takes that. But you're married to a tech billionaire. To put it very kindly, he's really a bit of a douche canoe.
Oh, I love that. Yes,
Isn't that good?
a bit of a douche canoe.
So he's not a douchette, and he's not a douche. He's a douche canoe.
He's a bit of a douche canoe. And in the credits, when the credits are ending, nobody has a name. You're called wife. Mm-hmm. He's called CEO.
Yes.
And Jason Segel, who was funny to see him playing a bad guy,
Yeah.
is called nobody.
It's called Nobody. They didn't use names because that's like a human thing, and it tends to get confusing. I mean, usually there's 4-letter key-op words that when this time stands still and you find your members, you have 4-letter key-op words. I don't understand why when the world starts turning again, people won't allow the 4-letter key-op words to be used as a sign of respect between just the members that get together when time stands still. I mean, why is there so much perversion in this?
Right.
What was the decision-making process not to give any of the characters a name?
Well, it's a human trait to associate certain empathy or sympathy or just personal connection to somebody when they have a name, and we wanted an audience not to have that personal connection right away and to really feel as though they are just these singular characters. There's only, 3 of us in most of the movie, and so everyone...
This was just a section. When the time stood still, if there was dissections and sections, and then there were parts that were vectored together for Special Task Force, since that's what they do as a specialty, in order to correct very serious issues that were non-negotiable.
One is flawed. Everyone has their reasons and choices that they made that got them to where they ended up. And to add a name adds an added element of human connection that we didn't want the audience to have.
It's a label of how they are perceived during the movie.
Exactly.
Now, your character is involved in a very dark and twisted, and I won't give anything away.
It's so hard not to.
Your character is somewhat underestimated throughout this film.
Yes, that's a good way to put it.
What was it like to have that type of ending without giving anything away?
Well, it's interesting. This is a character that's very undermined, silenced, quieted, and underrated almost at the beginning by these 2 very heavy male-driven ego energies. And to play a character like that is... has a trajectory, shall we say, that ends up where she does. It was an interesting thing as an actor because you don't want to just come across as
That is an interesting word. I use that word. I don't really hear people in couch potato using that word.
someone that's in a scene but silent and doesn't have much to do, but in those quiet moments there's so much that she's digesting, and you want to get to the end and be able to backtrack and have these moments where the audience can clue in on certain moments where things are percolating and she's thinking about things, and to have such a downward trajectory and an upward spiral. And I mix those words up because it is a trajectory and a spiral at the same time. It's an interesting thing.
It's also a good commentary, I think, on income inequality. Could you talk about that for a second? Because this couple, they are so obnoxious, especially your husband. They are so obnoxious that when he's negotiating for the ransom, about the payment that he wants, you both say, well, that's not enough. He asked for $150,000. You both of you say, nope, that's not enough. I've never seen anything like that before. So it's laugh out loud funny in the middle of this drama.
Yeah, there had to be this kind of
While the world was turning in a standstill and turning at the same motion, however, that could be or isn't accomplished, and I'm not taking credit or defining what I don't want to or what people don't want me to. There was a man once who came to where I was who said, if we were in Guatemala right now, I would know exactly who to go to get you out of this situation with this Ukrainian woman looking over your shoulder. He said, what I find very interesting is in this setup in this room. And then he said, you know what? Let's not talk about this right now. And it went something like that. Because in certain areas, certain people have a certain level of understanding, investigative, loyalty, and system. But for some reason on Long Island, the system was so broken, it was actually frightening. And even upon doing more investigative work, it's just like an endless job. It's frightening the more you investigate just how much has been replaced with what shouldn't be there, and how piecing it all back together is an anonymous task. Anonymous.
A dark comedic undertone to something like this, because I think it does keep you on your toes, but it also does speak about the haves, the have-nots, the disparity of wealth, and when you're so in that bubble and in your own world, you can be completely oblivious to someone else's perspective. And there is this sparring between CEO and wife that you need to see in order to understand their relationship or lack of relationship, and leads to where it leads. But it